Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Past The Barb. Today is November 7th. I'm your host, Adam Bartusek, and the most exciting news going on in the world today is, Cody, the Packers are dead.
We're going to go to that right away.
Yeah, I think we have to. The Packers are dead. And I'm a Minnesota sports fan, and I've been waiting 24 years, I think, to say that. The Packers are dead. And I will stand by that statement. So, Cody, please take the mic. How do you feel right now about your Packers?
You know, it's really nice. I'm happy for you. I really am happy for you that this one time it seems like it's lining up for the Vikings. And this one time, at the same moment, the Packers are doing what the Vikings normally do. And I am happy for you. However, it is a weird position for all Packers fans to be in. We are at a loss. We do not know what's going on. And it is just, I am like the most diehard Packer fan there is. I'm super optimistic about all play levels, but it is currently very hard to watch a game.
So
it's almost impossible.
And out of curiosity, I just want to know what it's like in your world right now. Is it Aaron Rodgers' fault? Is it Matt LaFleur's fault? Is it the team's fault? Where are we at right here? I just kind of want to see.
Who's to blame?
I think we're at a lot of a limbo right now where we don't really know what the hell is going on. We have no idea what is going on.
This is PG-13. You can swear if you need to.
I will sooner or later, but we really have no.
So wrap it up a little bit.
We really have no idea what's going on. I think all the frustration ensued, and I think Aaron had a bad game. He had a horrible game, probably the worst game of his career yesterday. And I think a lot of things came down to that. A lot of frustration, sure. People called the man a bad leader. You can hype it up to whatever it wants to be. He's not a bad leader, trust me. But it's just a lot of errors, a lot of simple errors. And I think it comes down to maybe it's a little bit of a coaching thing. Maybe it's a lot of a team thing on the offensive side of the board. And honestly, I think it comes down to really schematically just not having the best coaching scheme out of the Shanahan era. Maybe we got number 4 out of the Shanahan era where we needed number 3 or number 2, like a Sean McVay.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. And it's just really weird. It's week to week. It's just not good.
We're here with you. We've been here before a lot. So I just want to make sure you're okay over there. I know it's depressing.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm
There's nothing good about what's happening there.
I was in the stand. I was in the stand today, and I took my safety rope and I rolled it around my neck, and I tried to jump off. Unfortunately, it was one of the new safety ropes, so it gently let me down.
Too much elastic.
Yeah, it sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Sucked.
But Will, you're
Minnesota, eh?
Will, you are still a Minnesota Vikings fan. And you're still probably watching sports quite a bit, if I imagine. But from your eyes, what are we seeing happen over in Packerland?
Well, a complete collapse, for one. And here's the thing, is I went to college in Wisconsin, and all of my buddies from college, for the most part, are from Wisconsin. And it was just so the last whatever amount of years are so insufferable because the Packers fans are the most. Oh,
hey! Yeah, now is our moment. Now is our moment. Shh.
That's how old I am.
Oh, they are calling it already, huh?
Oh,
calling the moment, huh?
I wouldn't say that, but
I'm not saying our moment. I'm just saying we're finally
seeing fan group there is. I was at the bar. I was at the bar on Sunday. Not in Wisconsin. I was in Montana, and there was actually a lot of Packers fans there. They're so loud, and I get it, passionate about the team, but just and always are like that. And it's fun when they're winning for sure. But now I don't know what the next step is, for you guys.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna chime in real quick and I think the thing is, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy watching the Vikings. We're gonna dive into it. I'm not 100% sure where I stand, but like I'm all in on them. But I don't know if that means I'm all in for like we're gonna make a Super Bowl or what. But I'm gonna enjoy the ride. But with watching I don't know if I want to say great, but what's been interesting about watching the Packers this year is it is the complete and utter demise of like a dynasty of watching a team with two of the best quarterbacks of all time just win for like 20 plus years. And now we get to see them lose. And that Lions game was a lot of Rodgers' fault. Like it was really bad.
Undoubtedly. Like there was two of the picks that he had, but to be honest, like he literally had 99% of his year, like his career, he had all of his picks in this game. Like that's his average for a year. It just, I think there's a ton of frustration with him and how things are working right now. And there's a ton of frustration because he is, and I'm going to stand by this point until like the ship go real deep. Aaron is at the top of his game. He's an extremely intelligent individual. If shit is not right, if shit is not happening how he wants it to be, and people are not performing to an NFL level where they can't catch a freaking ball, even if it's like a touch underthrown, or they can't remember a route because they're too dumb to remember the schematic of their job, that's bullshit. I would be pissed as well. So people are blaming like quarterback route, like quarterback play. Like, dude, he knows the offense in and out. I'm not putting this all on his shoulders. I'm putting it on a lot of inexperience.
Well, that's I wanted to know where Packerland stands. We're gonna move on to our next current event and everything going on. The one take I will stand on, and Cody and I have texted about it. I think Aaron Rodgers has been in a regression for the past 12 months, and I think we're just finally really seeing it now. And
do you think it's because of? Do you think it's because of all the psychedelic drugs he did in the offseason? Do you think that?
I don't know if that necessarily helps. To be honest, I think kids, you should definitely. Maybe avoid ayahuasca, whatever it's called, ayahuasca. There we go.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with it. He's back-to-back MVPs.
I'm not saying. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's clearly not the MVP this year. So
you guys are ridiculous. You guys are absolutely ridiculous.
Devontae, is that why he's so bad now? I mean, what's the cause? But we'll keep going.
We will move on. But what I was going to finish saying was
I think he's very good. I doubt that.
I think he's one of the most talented to ever play. I'm just saying I think it's hard to blame your coach when your coach has also led you to the number 1 and 2 seed the last 2 years and 2 MVPs. But
your coach also fell into the best
situation ever. Oh yeah, ever. Absolutely. But okay. Anyways, moving on from the Packers, how that's going. We will move on to Ryan. We'll just kind of go around in a circle twice because I know we had a couple different things from each people. But Ryan, what did you have going on timely that you wanted to talk about in the outdoors world or just the world today?
Well, honestly, the biggest thing is just
we just lost Ryan. We just lost Ryan. Ryan will be back momentarily. Sir William IV, if you are watching on YouTube, Will's changed his name every single one of these podcasts. Will, what do you have going on in the world today?
Talk about my I guess I'll talk about the Powerball to start since that draws tonight. It's at $1.9 billion. So after lump sum, what does that come out to? About like 900 million. Does that sound right? 800 million?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Did you guys buy tickets?
No, I feel like I might lose negative if
I don't think I I don't think I've ever fallen for the Powerball buying the ticket. I don't even know if it's falling for it either because you could win life-changing money, but I don't think it. Maybe once or twice back in high school.
I only buy it when it gets to be like this big, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, obviously the chances are very slim. Now, if you won, like Cody, let's say like just for the sake of it, like I think about this, what would be the first thing you do? Like not talking like when you get the money, but when you like read your ticket and you're like, I just won, like what would you do?
Honestly, I don't think I would tell anybody, but there's a couple like land options that I have in mind that would be like the first like parcel that I would buy. Okay, so that's like my first like,
10 million.
10 to 60 million depending on how much I want to buy.
Yeah.
And then like we put it in some sort of name that is not my own.
A trust.
And then a trust. And then maybe I live out of this shitty apartment. I don't need a big house.
So that's the thing
fishing.
Yeah, so I thought about that too. So, and I don't know in Montana or Wisconsin, there's some states where you can't be anonymous. So
oh man, did we lose?
Yeah, we lost.
Did we lose Will on Wi-Fi too?
Yeah, and then
Holy
you were
cow.
gone for a second. Okay,
I just walked away for a sec. Will we kind of have back? I don't know if we can hear you or not.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
now we can kind of hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry. Did you guys hear when I was talking about the anonymous winner thing? Did that come through?
That's right where you cut out.
Sure. So I agree. I would like to remain anonymous, but what if you can't? Like what if the state you have to come forward and people know? Like who's going to come out of the woodwork?
Oh, there's going to be like the entire, your graduation class.
Yes.
Of friends are going to be coming out.
Yes.
And getting you. That's when, you got to move to Alaska.
You got to hide out for a good, I think, a while anyways.
I think
and
like
let things
a
simmer
full
down.
year and a half to 2 years.
I think that's where you buy like land or a cabin or whatever you really wanted, like in an area you've wanted to move to. So like even if it's like you're in the Twin Cities right now, say it's like I'm then like, okay, I'm going to buy a big half a lake up in northern Minnesota. I can just go up there and kind of disappear.
Yeah.
People up there won't really know what I am.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I will say if I wanted though, I would have like one week of like kind of flexing with the boys. You know what I mean? Like get your really good buddies together and like we're going to Cabo. It's all on my dime.
No, there's like, 1 week where you put like I don't even know how many $1 million budget into it. You just go, guys, we're gonna go be really stupid.
Yeah,
like you buy.
I feel like you got to do that. Yeah,
yeah,
you have that.
I feel like it's one of those points. It sounds so like a hip hop song, but you're like plumping the pockets of like the people closest to you, like your buddies. Like we good.
Right.
We
like
good
you're not really like you can come work for me now.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
You're like, hey, would you like a job?
Yeah. like
are you just make a mixtape if you want to.
And
like do you want to
step number 2 would be to start your foundation. So you hire them in your foundation and then you just pay them whatever.
Right. And I'm giving back to the community,
Exactly.
when I pull up, when I go back to Brainerd and I'm in a Rolls Royce Phantom, and I have a driver. I just want to show people, like,
really.
Exactly. Like I'm just a kid from Brainerd. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Anybody
you
can
pull
be
up
this.
at Zorba's, you're just like, hey, it's just me,
dude.
Will.
I would absolutely clean house there, like a July Saturday night. Can you imagine? Anybody would with that kind of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see. Maybe the next time we talk, I'll have won this whole deal, and I don't know. Maybe I'll get us a studio or something.
Yeah, maybe the podcast will have funding. That would be exciting. Okay, now we have Pinkalla back. We just moved on from the Powerball.
Yeah,
Pinkalla. I don't know what happened either. All of a sudden you dropped out. But all right, what do you got going on in the world, Pinkalla?
So this past weekend, Minnesota deer opener, and guys been out there. My phone's been blowing up. Tons of deer going down, And I love this time of year, just getting hit up. Everyone's knocking them down, some big bucks I've been seeing on social media and everything. So it's pretty exciting. And then Wisconsin's coming up, not this coming weekend, but the one after that. So Hahner, I'm sure you're getting out there, eh?
Yeah, I've been up. I've been up at the hunting land bow hunting for the last 4 days now. That's what I've been doing. That's why we got to keep it rugged. I don't want to put face paint on, so we grow it out. We grow the face paint
it's
out.
looking lush.
Thank you. But yeah, it's always a huge ordeal up here.
Yeah, I feel like Minnesota and Wisconsin are so different in that like the culture is different around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's definitely more of like a tradition thing in Wisconsin, and people go way harder in the paint, I feel like, during the season.
Yes.
Just as far as like deer camp and like that kind of thing.
Yeah. And one of the things with like deer camp that, they demolished like a few years ago is actually bringing the deer into like said gas station.
Right. Like the registration
The
station.
registration station. That was such a big deal in my
huge.
childhood to go there and see the deer. And I wish they would bring that back.
Yeah, they just went like electronic, like you could just
and now it's like it just completely just like killed the whole vibe of these small towns. Like say we got hunting land up in Tomahawk, Wisconsin. Like Tomahawk is not known for big deer or like bunches of deer, but when you did see a big deer, you're like, oh, it's the talk of the town.
Like literally, people are just put up in the gas station drinking beers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been, like jealous too of Wisconsin's like the timing of their deer opener, because Minnesota is like closed by the time Wisconsin's opens.
Mm-hmm.
Although like Minnesota's kind of primo rut, but like I always thought it was cool. Like my buddies in school, like going home for Thanksgiving, like they take that whole week off and then they got to do Thanksgiving, but they were like deer hunting too, which I thought was like, man, that'd be sweet. Awesome thing.
Yeah. Hahner, I mean, even like when we were going to Point, like I remember having classes canceled for deer season. Like in college, like they were like, we're not having
high school was canceled.
Yeah.
Like I remember our hockey coach was not a hunter whatsoever, but the parents were like, no, we are not having hockey games during season.
Well, and it's over the holiday week too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It
was because there's always 2 days. So like there's the weekend, the opening weekend, and then you had Monday, Tuesday, and then Thanksgiving is Wednesday, or like you get off of Wednesday and Thanksgiving is Thursday. And most of the classes would just be like, we're not going to have class on Monday and Tuesday because we know too many people are just going to skip anyways. So like, forget it.
Yeah. No, I love this whole time. Like pretty much the month of November is just fun as far as like the deer hunting aspect around like the Midwest, I guess. But I know there's a lot of other states that it's rolling too, but a lot of those states, it's like a longer deal. I mean, where I live here, like we have a long season. It goes pretty much the whole month, but like a lot of Western states, not just like a short little deal. Like there's kind of hunting going on for the past 2 months already. But, but one other thing that kind of goes with that. So this, I don't know if you guys heard of this Deer Hunters Roundup radio show.
I listened to one.
So, okay. I don't know how like widespread this is known about or whatever. I know it's like a pretty long standing show, but it's what is it? 98Q country radio station for the whole deer season. Every day of the whole deer season, they have a 2-hour radio show. So I'll pull it up here. They just released the schedule for it. So you got to listen to this. If you have any interest in like outdoors, anything, you got it. It is the most hysterical.
This is so Wisconsin deer hunting.
It's so good.
So Wisconsin public land deer hunting. It's not even funny.
So it's all these, pretty much the gist of the show is all these different deer camps, cabins with like 10, 20 guys. They're all calling in to give their like update report of like how the day went and all this stuff. And so it's November 19th through the 26th, and it's 6 to 8 p.m. every single day. Now, I've been listening to this for the past couple of years, and I will say the weekend days are unbelievable to listen to.
Just a couple Miller Lights and spotted cows drank.
Oh my God, dude. It's so good. And like they all got different names for their camps and stuff, and they're calling in to check in, and it's glorious. If you listen to one, you'll be addicted. And if you look it up, they have a website and they actually save all of the shows, so you can like go back and listen to ones from like last year or whatever. So even if you don't get a chance to listen to it, go back, because it is.
And what is it, Ryan?
You would think it's staged.
So it's 98Q Country out of Park Falls, Wisconsin, and it's called the Deer Hunters Roundup, and it'll change your life. It's that good. Even if you don't hunt, it is some of the best comedy that you're gonna get for free. Not
Ryan, I just breezed through like 2 of them.
Yes,
and it was so on par, like Wisconsin deer camp. It was
everything you want it to be.
Hilarious.
It's
hilarious. It's a bunch of like deer driving boys, like who literally don't hold a weapon all year long, but now like we roll up in the morning and we're still kind of hungover and we might like shoot an air shot.
Yeah, like an average, and it's funny. The guy that's like the host of the show, he's just a good old boy, but he'll rein it in a little too. Like somebody will get out and they're real drunk, and they don't even just cut him off right away. He's like, well,
no, he just lets him go.
No, well, we can't say that. No, okay.
And then they'll have like a little kid on right after that, like a 10-year-old kid who shot his first like deer or whatever.
Well, that's
the
thing.
Might be
it's
a
like
spike.
They have no idea who's calling in, and they just let him go.
No, they just let him go.
So it'll be like one, some kid will call in and say, this is Tim.
Oh
shit!
We lost Ryan again.
I'm gonna continue.
Go ahead, Hunter.
The show is just impeccable. Like they'll have a group of like 25 guys like talking over a phone who it might be 9:00 in the morning. It doesn't matter, but they're all like, this is the boys. This is their moment. And they're all like on a radio station checking in. It is hilarious. And absolutely hilarious.
I could imagine half the phone calls where it's a group of like 6 guys just waiting deep. All you hear is like 27 different voices trying to get on it.
And it's literally just oh yeah.
Yeah, well, and like
I know. Oh yeah. Yep, got her.
I will say
that's
though,
that's what you hear.
That like when they have
Pink, you're gone again.
But
nope, audio's gone. Alrighty, so no, it is beautiful. If you need to listen to it
for the viewers watching right now, like if you want some serious Wisconsin background, listen to that little clip at 98Q, the Hunters Podcast, or
Deer Hunters Roundup.
Deer Hunters Roundup. If you want a little intel on what our life has been like since now, that is it.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Pink's played a few of them for me before, and they're just hilarious. Like you said, you don't even need to be a hunter. They're just very funny.
Gold.
So more timely news of things going on. So in the outdoor world, I'm sure we all saw this because it went mega viral. There was a 10.15 pound smallmouth bass caught on Eerie a little bit ago. So Greg Gallagher caught it. It's the 5th biggest smallmouth ever caught that's been registered. World records 11.15 out of Dale Hollow. Second is Dale Hollow with a 10.14. Tied for third is Dale Hollow and Wheeler Dam Tailwaters with a 10.8. And then it's this one. It was a 68-year-old Ontario province record. And to my knowledge, that's the biggest one ever caught north of the Mason-Dixon line. So yeah, that's like insane. It was, so the measurements were, it was 23 3/4 inches long, girth 19 3/8.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's literally like a barn door.
Yeah.
The picture is insane because like the mouth is like the size of a mouth of a 4 or 5 pound largemouth.
What was the name of the angler?
Greg Gallagher, I believe. if I pronounce that right. But yeah, I saw it. I remember sending a screenshot to Hahner because I'm friends with or follow his kid on Instagram or Facebook. I can't remember which side it was. I saw it on the story, and he had it in the live well, and he said 10-1-5, and I was like, what? And I just sent him a screenshot, and it literally laid sideways in a live well and just filled up the whole thing.
It looks like you could put your fist in its mouth.
Yes, it is. It is so big.
Unbelievable.
Smallmouth are so deceiving. Like, you're like, oh yeah, that's a nice smallmouth. I'm like, I showed like my uncle and a couple other people that image who are casual fishermen. And I'm like, look at this fucking smallmouth. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good one. I'm like, no, look at his hand.
That's what you have to do is like zoom in on his hand. Look how tiny it looks.
His hand looked like 2 fingers.
I'm looking at the picture right now, dude. It looks like a grouper.
Yeah, it's so big.
Huge.
It looks like a triple tail, dude. That's what it looks like. Is a triple tail.
You're right. Yes. Yes.
Isn't it like a big triple tail?
Like a big one.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because we've been seeing this fall a ton of gigantic smallmouth being caught, kind of all over the country. To be honest, just North America in general. It seems like smallmouth are getting bigger and bigger. Whether it's stuff going on with the climate, whether you believe in that or not, we're not getting into it. But I mean, the smallmouth are getting bigger, and I don't know why. Gobies, bait, whatever it might be, but it's cool to see.
Adam, where is Dale Hollow?
Hahner, have you fished Dale Hollow?
I've actually never fished Dale Hollow before, but it is in Tennessee, but I've never fished it before.
It's down. I could be very wrong here. I'd have to look at a map quick, but I believe it's down. There's 2 dams that come out of Fort Loudon or the Tennessee River where the Classic's going to be by Knoxville. And I believe one of them flows down towards, like, obviously the TVA, down to Pickwick, Kentucky, all that stuff, Gunnersville. First one below it is Chickamauga, I think. But anyways, the other side I think goes over to Dale Hollow, and there's another one I'm not remembering. But I think that's where it comes from. I think they're kind of born from the same area. And once again, I could be very wrong. I'm not looking at a map right now. But
did they bonk that fish, or did they release it?
I don't know if it got released or not. I know they brought it in to get verified. Cody, did you figure out where it is?
Yeah, it's northeast Tennessee.
Does it come out of Fort Loudon, Telco?
Oh, shoot.
Well, anyways, but
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It's up in that region, up in Tennessee, and then
very northeastern Tennessee.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just crazy big. So that's the biggest one by far north of the Mason-Dixon line that we've seen. Every once in a while you might see a 7. You see 7s, maybe an 8. I mean, the Minnesota state record's 8 flat.
Yeah,
which is still a giant.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
like it's not
2 pounds more. Is this one?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, there's been some things out in Sturgeon Bay that people have seen that they just see them like roaming a flat, and they're like, nah. No. And I've seen some of those fish where they just won't bite, and you wouldn't believe that they're actual bass until you actually see them like roll or flash. But like a fish gets as big as its fishbowl, and like they have to exist in some of the most healthiest places, and there has to be oddities and like genetic freaks like that one. Like that's a perfect example of a genetic freak that someone caught.
Did you find out about any like details about the story or anything? Like, were these guys just
there's a whole article posted on Wired to Fish and everything. Like they were out fishing for smallmouth. Like they're smallmouth bass fishermen. They were out doing the whole deal.
Were they aware of like that caliber of fish in that area, or they just kind of?
I think they were saying they were going out for a 7-pounder.
Okay.
Like they were going for a really big one. I mean, that's a really big smallmouth. So they were chasing a really big one, but when you catch one like 3 pounds bigger than
I don't think you can necessarily plan for like a 10.
A 10.
Yeah.
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 Well, I remember looking. when Hahner and I were filming Chasing Ghosts, like we had seen one old relic picture of one that was like 23 and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I was like, is that a 10-pound smallmouth? And he was like, I don't know, maybe. And like, it's hard to even wrap your brain around that could even be a thing. So major shout out to those guys. Like that was insane. Just makes all of us guys that want to chase a freak brown one, you keep going because they keep getting bigger. And I had two other things I wanted to touch on real quick. One thing really quick was kind of, we're not going to talk about golf on this podcast, but I thought it's an interesting concept was, so Tiger and Rory are playing versus JT. So Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth, December 10th for hurricane relief. So it's a 12-hole under the lights showdown on a course down in Florida, broadcasted on TNT.
That was sick.
And I just thought, like, I'm like, dude, that is such a sick concept. And like it's going to be obviously just, they're just going to show it for 3 or 4 hours. You're going to see all the behind the scenes and everything. And all I can think of is like, you know, in bass fishing or whatever the outdoor sport is, you have all these avenues for live streaming and cool, like 1v1 or 2v2 matchups. Like, why don't we see more of these? Because they've started these like match things with, especially golf. They do it a lot in golf. And like every time I'm going to turn it on and watch because they're always the top guys at the game. And like it creates rivalries. And that's what we lack in fishing, to be honest. There's not rivalries or any hate, which like, you know, hate's a strong word, but you got to get a little blood boiling and get things going. You know, Vikings and Packers that's a good don't concept. Like each other. So
for like, especially, I mean, to be able to just like call, you know, like these guys just can call each other out to just like compete. Like if we could see that on the fishing side, I think that would be unbelievable.
Yeah, could you imagine, like, you know, Randy Blockett sees Wheeler win a fish on live scope and he's like, all right, me and my boy versus you and your boy, 4 hours live streamed.
Yeah, live. Yeah,
I mean, maybe
just
not
call
the
it
best
out
example
body on
Blockett,
whatever
but...
body of water they pick. Yeah, that would be unreal, dude.
Yeah, like if you grab two guys from the, say, you know, MLF BPT right now, you grab Wheeler and Cannell, and then they go against like BP and Seth or something like that. Like
just head to head, straight up.
That would
like
be
a field of
incredible.
angles.
Yeah.
And
I think and the smack talk would be so good.
I am so sick of the political correctness. Like, let's get some shit rolling here. Like,
let's stir that pot up.
Let's stir the pot. Like Tiger and Mickelson were constantly shit talking.
Yeah.
Constantly. Yeah. Like, can we get some animosity going? Can we get
these guys are gamers.
That would
dude.
be
like
hilarious.
They want to compete.
They want to compete.
The best,
like you're looking at like competitors, ultimate competitors. Can we not get like that chatter going?
Dude, the best social media clip of all time was that type of chatter, and it was when the MLF split happened and Fighter posted the "I'm not fucking leaving" from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
that was just unbelievable because everyone was waiting, and he was the first one to deny an invite, and oh my god, it just lit the world on fire. It was so good. I wish there was more of that, like in the like competition and all that sort of stuff. It's good for the sport. I don't understand why guys don't do it. Well, I do. It's because people don't want to lose sponsors. But I think what we're starting to see in the outdoor world is a little more flexibility and understanding. Like, people are human. We see it in other sports. Like, guys can wear Nike shoes and still have rivalries with other people who wear Nike shoes. It's not a problem. Like, it's a sport. And the more we treat it like a sport, the more it'll move that way. So I just thought that concept was cool. I think it'd be so cool to see it in fishing. I don't know how you'd necessarily do it in hunting, but I think it'd be really cool if you could figure out a way. And then the last thing, I just wanted to get on record, since we do talk about sports and football in here, I can feel myself falling into the trap of another Viking season and Super Bowl hopes. The Vikings are 7-1. They are finding ways to win. The team feels different. People seem to like each other. I saw videos of Kirk wearing chains with his shirt off, and I actually laughed and thought it was really cool, and like it made me happy and smile. And I'm just really scared because the last time this happened, they had Keenum, and we had the Minneapolis Miracle, and then we just got curb stomped in Philadelphia. So I feel myself falling into this, and I just want to get it on the record that I'm just going to enjoy the ride. I don't know where it's going to go, and Skull.
Oh boy,
I know where it's gonna go.
Yeah,
Long
I
history.
haven't completely bought into it yet because I just don't know. I've been a big Kirk Cousins hater for a really long time.
Dude, and that's like the
But
hard
I
part.
don't
Like
know. He's like winning games now, so I don't
he
know. I don't
and
want to
like
fall into the trap.
the fourth quarter statistics, like in the last 2 years, he leads the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks, and it's like it's gonna end up. I know it's gonna end up biting me. I know what's gonna happen.
I
I
know.
know exactly what's gonna happen.
So
But
how many losses strung together will it take before the entire fan base just gives up?
dude,
Like,
if we
turns
lose
on-
right now,
we-
there's a lot of hope. And
if we get, but everyone's very hesitant right now. Like this Bills game,
but
if we
Vikings
get, if
fans
we
are
get
notoriously
throttled,
bad at turning on their team. Very
Oh,
quickly.
they will,
Oh,
and
yes, so
myself
bad.
included. If Kirk Cousins has one bad game, dude, there'll be pitchforks. I
See,
mean,
I
it
think
will the whole team, everybody.
That's the big difference between I think Green Bay fans, right, and Minnesota fans is that Green Bay fans are ride or die, and Minnesota fans are they're on the bandwagon until it starts going south, and then they're not even watching anymore. They don't even remember that's football season. They're just like, we're done.
I do think we have a lot of seasons that we have a lot of fans that are loud that don't necessarily like watch the sports a lot or watch sports a lot and like get it.
I think the big thing with go ahead, Adam.
I was just gonna say it's just like yes, people jump off the ship. It's just right now everyone's really hesitant, and this is exactly what's gonna happen with this Buffalo game coming up.
Here's what I'm gonna say, like in the comparison
Will.
between Vikings fans and Packers fans, is that Packers fans are really used to being good, like they know how to handle it and can sort of deal with the ebbs and flows, but they're always good. Vikings fans are not used to being good, so as soon as we are good, like we are right now, you kind of put all your hopes and dreams into the team, and then inevitably they're shattered. And
inevitably
we're not used to being
going to get crushed. Like we are going to get our soul ripped out in a really bad way.
It's just you expect it as a Minnesota fan of anything. So I think that's why Packers fans can handle it better, because they're like 25 years they've been contenders almost year in and year out, and the Vikings obviously have not been. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. I don't want to jinx it.
I know. I can just feel it happening.
It's easy
and I'm
for
excited,
us to
and it's
know.
happy.
Yeah, it's easier for us to know when we're shit and when we're good. Like even when we have like a bad start, we're like, oh no, we're fine. We're
exactly
like the beginning of the season.
It'll come around. Yeah.
Oh no, we're not good.
Right, but even when we're not good, we're looking at it like we're still watching the team and being like involved.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, we lost you again,
like
Pink.
But yeah, we'll be involved with the team, but usually most of the time, like we might have like 3 games that we lose in a row or something, but at the same time, we're like, we got enough of a connection going that we're still going to be number 1 in the NFC. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, probably not this year, but most years. Yes.
Well, yeah, most years. But I'm saying like this year, absolutely not. Like there's none of that feeling.
Right.
Yeah,
so terrible.
I just wanted to get out there and say, like, I'm excited. The Buffalo Bills game's coming up. That is going to be a big. If we get stomped by the Bills, you're going to see a lot of people like very, very angry in terms of Vikings fans. I think in my mind, if they just lost. And if we keep it like within a 1 possession game, go there, have a good game, I'll be happy.
Whatever I think if they're kind of comes out to be. Yeah, if the Vikings are,
because then you're like, okay, they can do it because the Bills are good and they just lost to the Jets, so God, they're going to be mad. But
Jets are good though.
They are.
The only other thing I wanted to say, and it's just kind of sad, and I just needed to bring this up to Will because I'm sure we both watched Adam Thielen throughout the years. You can tell he's lost a step, and it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, it is, but he's still, dude. He still can. I mean,
he's still good.
He's like a Cobb.
He's so
like
good.
Cobb.
Yeah, he's so good, and he's fun to watch. It's just like I've never seen a man like the last few games. It looks like it's just he's trying so hard to gain that extra step, and he just doesn't have it. Like some balls off the fingertips that like he would typically get.
Adam,
and you're like,
so
it's just
quick
sad.
to denounce a player.
They're winning, and he's still like, no,
like he's still really good. You're just watching him be like 30 something now, and he's just losing his wheels.
Aaron Rodgers,
you're just setting yourself up.
Aaron Rodgers at 37 years old won the MVP, lost it.
I still don't think he should have won those MVPs. I think it should have been Mahomes or Allen, but we're not.
I think we got to move on from Packers. We spent a lot of time on this already, but
the Vikings. Yeah, that's what we got going on there.
Check that
and
all right,
Hunter, did we have anything else timely, or Will? Did you have any? Oh, Will, you had something cool. I know too.
Yeah, Cody can go though.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I have a good. I want to play devil's advocate on this little topic. I feel like that's kind of my niche in the board here. So the Bassmaster Elite Series allows 2 people to get in that are veterans of the sport. Veterans meaning they could have won a Bassmaster Classic back in 1975. They could be barely living. But they won a Bassmaster Classic or an AOI, and they have to put in, like, they don't announce what they have to put in, but they have to put in some sort of, like, argument for them to get back into the Bassmaster Elite Series. And this year, Larry Nixon is fishing the Bassmaster Elite Series, who I have a ton of respect for. He is an awesome human being. He has been nothing but awesome to me. And it is nothing against Larry Nixon, but I'm saying, where does the sport go where we are allowing people to join back into an elite series of anglers who are at their top of their game, where other sports are not, like, obviously a 70-year-old is not going to be playing NFL. A 70-year-old is not going to be driving a Formula One car. A 70-year-old is not going to be playing catcher and hitting in the major leagues. Like,
I think a good comparison to that would be like golf. Adam, what is the tour they have for older people? Champions Tour?
Yeah, it actually is. Yes, it's the Champions Tour. Because whenever I search the Champions Tour on Google for Minnesota, it brings me to a golf page.
But that would be like, maybe Bass needs something like that, where it's these older guys. Because like in the Champions Tour now, who's in that? Adam, do you know?
Well, I think so. Here's the thing: you can still play PGA and play in that tour, as long as you're like able to keep your tour. You're able to keep your
conceptually. I think that would be
like VJ saying stuff like that. But you have to keep your tour card, and I think that's where Hahner has a good point. Is they have these legend exceptions, right? And with this said, I have nothing against David Fritz, Rick Clunn, whatever. They're legends. They change the game. They're some of the greatest ever. Rick Clunn's probably the greatest ever to bass fish. Like, it is not even debatable. But Bass, for example, or MLF, whoever wants to do it, they're making all these spots for the younger generation. Well, now it's too flooded and none of us have anywhere to make money. So maybe what we should do is you go to the top level and you're like, okay, well, if these old guys can't keep their tour card, say example, you're an Elite Series card, but you guys still want to fish. Maybe there's some sort of elder tour that these guys are able to go to and fish. And maybe you can fish both if you're able to still keep your Elite Series qualification and do that. But you need to keep your qualification. Like, I guess the legend exemption for me, Cody, maybe you and I differ on this, but I think it's okay to use it once. Like, if you want to get back in, like, you earn that right. Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. But then, like, if you're in there 2 years and you lose your qualification, you lost your qualification. And I think that they should.
Well, how often do they allow them to do it now?
Larry Nixon can stay there as long as he wants.
As long as he wants. Yeah. And that's so, like, with
and they're not. I should also say, sorry, Cody, but they're not taking any spots from any opens guys or anything. These are 2 different spots that they keep open for these legends from the
Right.
way I understand it.
Yes.
But it's still like, well, just if they didn't make it, kick them out and give the spot to the next guy in the overall at the Opens.
Maybe this is a good
Exactly.
opportunity for that, what you were talking about before. What if they could just call out somebody on tour and go head to head and take their spot?
That would be electric. David Fritz calls out whoever the first.
Why not?
Last person
You
in
catch
is.
him, you catch him. If you still got
1v1,
it.
let's do it for his series card. Oh my god!
If he's still got it, he's still got it.
You'd watch
that.
that.
I would totally watch that. but yeah, like it just bugs me so much that it's so hard. It's so incredibly hard for people to get into it,
and they make it so easy.
But they make it so easy, even though like you're at the retired age, like you should be well gone and well off and set up in your career. Though like this should not matter anymore. And I agree with you, Bart. Like maybe 1 year, give them 1 year or a year, and see how they do. If they don't, obviously, if they're like a Fritz and they're down in the bottom, 3 people for the last like 5 years, maybe, I don't know, maybe let's move.
Well, and I think
out.
it comes to maybe start a retirement tour, an older tour type thing. Maybe it is only 15 or 20 anglers, but you got them mic'd up the whole time. There's obviously an audience that's going to watch it because they're, legends and they're competing against each other. Maybe it's lower entries, lower payouts, but like it's a tour where they can still be competitive because the only reason they're doing it anymore is they're like competition junkies and they can't go back to going in the Opens because then they're going to lose a crazy amount of money compared to what they even are now. So it's just, I agree with you, Cody. It's a rock and a hard place with the legend exemption. Like
how I look at the Elite Series, if they want to grow the sport, they have to make it super, super elite. If they want to grow the sport to an exponential level, they have to cut the field like incredibly. And I'm sorry if you're not good enough, but you're just not good enough. And this is a show. These are the best of the best. Like maybe it's like 25 to 45 guys. These are the 45 guys that we're going with. This is the best show. The rest of you, better luck next time you like try to qualify your way again. But when you're allowing people to just like randomly fluky show up because 45 years ago I won something, like that's so wishy-washy. It's not even a sport. Like you're just like making up rules on the spot. Like it's not right. It's not right.
I think, and there needs to be a happy medium with it because obviously, like, it's still fun to watch those guys. Like, one of the coolest tournaments I've watched in the last 5 years was Clun winning on the St. John's. Like, it was so sick.
Unbelievable.
And they have to figure something out, but I don't know. Right now, it just doesn't seem like they've figured that out.
No.
But moving on, our last subject we're going to touch on, then we're going to move on to kind of what a lot of this show is going to be about. And we haven't been able to dive into it a lot, but it's kind of telling stories and recapping really cool trips we go on. But I know Will has kind of a cool thing to talk about, stuff going on in Bozeman. I looked into this when you brought it up in the group text, and this company looks super sick. Like, I am not a fly fisherman, and I would maybe want to try to book a trip with them.
Yeah, so I guess the gist of it is there's this company called Yellow Dog Fly Fishing, and Adam, you looked at, I don't know, did you guys look at it, the other two?
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or you're aware of it. So I mean, basically what Yellow Dog is they're like, the best way to describe it would be they're like a travel agency for destination fly fishing trips. So like fly fishermen, like let's say you wanted to book a saltwater trip, you didn't really know a lot about like the locations. You could go on their website, you could see like there's obviously a ton of different places. Like you could keep it in the States, you could go to Louisiana and fish redfish, or like if you have a ton of money and want to go to like a premier saltwater destination like the Seychelles, for instance, which is probably the number one saltwater fishing destination in the world. For fly fishing, then Yellow Dog will basically like help you book that trip, like figure out all the logistics. But they're based in Bozeman here, but they just bought a local fly shop. So it's called Fins and Feathers. So now Yellow Dog has a retail location. It's still going to be a fly shop, but like they just nailed it, like from a business concept, because now when someone books a trip, like let's say I'm super rich and I just won the Powerball and I'm going
I'm going
to the I'm going to the
Powerball.
when this comes out, I will have won. And I want to go to the Seychelles. I want to go to Alphonse Island, which those trips cost like $15,000 to $20,000 for a week, you know? And let's say I want to book that. Well, I got to get geared out, right? Like I need to get new rods, new reels, new fly line, like a bunch of flies. Well, now Yellow Dog, I booked through them. Then they're going to set me up with a custom package of stuff I need to buy. And then I buy that through them again. And then I go off on my trip and I have like the best time ever. So I think it's really cool that they went from like sort of a travel agent to now that they're actually providing like goods to as well as a service. You know, I think like what a genius concept that is. So
are they running like guides out of their fly shop then too? Did they say?
Yeah, so I don't know how that's gonna work, because in the past, Fins and Feathers, they were an outfitter as well, and I assume that Yellow Dog has taken over that outfitting license, and they will continue to outfit and have guides out of there. I don't know for sure, but yeah, if you get a chance, like just looking at their website is, even if you don't fly fish, like it's worth looking at, because some of the destinations are like absolutely insane all over the world, fishing for like every species imaginable, and they have like dialed in these trips so well. Like if you are into fly fishing and have a lot of coin and wanted to book like a premier trip, that's who you go with. Like they're the kind of the pioneers, I think, in that space. There's other companies that do it, but pretty sweet concept.
It'd be a pretty sick place to just hang out too, like go in there and talk about trips and fishing and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think they'll kind of bring some like new energy into that. That was a sweet fly shop before, but you know, there'll be some like renovations and updates, and I think it'll be really cool when it's done. Or they're open now. They've just repainted and like basically did the branding this weekend. It's done already. So yeah, I thought that was interesting and like kind of a local tidbit from here in Bozeman. So
no, that's super cool. I looked into it and I was like, God, that's sick. And like, I don't think anyone's really tapped into it that much in terms of all the other markets. I have heard of that with certain hunting. There's some type of agencies or companies that do a similar type thing, but they'll set you up with maybe like different Rocky Mountain areas. They don't necessarily go international all over the place. So like, I think that's really cool. And like, that'd be something like, I don't know, it'd be sick to work with one of those companies, whether you're a content creator or whatever, like being able to go on those trips and tell those stories. Like, as you guys know, like me as a filmmaker and doing what I do, like I just like filming stories. So catching the fish is cool and everything too. I absolutely love fishing, but it's those stories and trips are just unbelievable. And that's kind of what we're going to dive into next. Actually, it's a really good segue, Will. But Pink just got back from, let's see if I remember what state. Colorado.
With a C, you idiot.
Is it Colorado? Oh, great. His mic isn't working right when we start a segment too.
All right. So I'll continue on. I'll tell a story for you.
Kinda.
Talk again, Pink.
God.
Nope, you're good now.
No,
you're
now
good
it's working. Now
you're good now.
Good.
Just
Yeah.
stop moving. Stop moving.
I'm gonna keep moving. I'm moving.
Okay. Well, Pinkalla, anyways, was
right.
up in the mountains for a long time, and he's going to tell us about his trip because this is kind of what this guy does. I'm sure his mic will cut out at some point, so we will tell you that it's cut out, and we'll talk.
If it stops, let me know, and I'll try to fix it. I don't know. I think maybe just internet's working weird or whatever, but
I think it's your Wi-Fi more than anything. But yeah, go ahead, Pink.
Yeah. So so I've just got back literally yesterday. So I was out there for 10 days. Had a bull elk tag for Colorado. So you don't know too much about that. It's like they have separate seasons out there. This was the second rifle season. So the area I was in is actually a general tag, so you could just buy it. It wasn't like one you had to draw. It was just a general over-the-counter rifle tag. Been going out there for like a number of years doing this trip. And like I know, like we wanted to kind of talk about these trips as we were doing them, just to kind of like give, I don't know, kind of like some of the different options or what's out there that people are doing. And this is a pretty cool one. It's more of like kind of that adventure style hunt, really. So this was total like backcountry DIY, not like through a outfitter or a guide or anything. But yeah, so it was just me and my dad out there. We drove out, and
basically everything you do, Pink, is DIY, right? Like you go do all your own stuff out there for the most part.
Yeah. I've never like done like an outfitter type setup or anything like that. I don't know. That stuff's just like costs a lot of money, and that's just not. DIY. It's just not kind of our style. Like we just go out there and try to figure it out, and we've made some good connections. We got a buddy that lives out there that just lives and breathes elk hunting too, so I kind of helps fuel the fire and get you in some good areas. But for the most part, yeah, everything's just kind of like trial and error, trying new areas. But this particular unit that we've been in, so like the way Colorado split up into a ton of different hunting areas. So some of them you need like different tags to hunt. This particular one is just, like I said, a general unit. So pretty much anybody can go there if you buy the tag. And that's, I think, what kind of makes it cool. Like there's a lot of guys that maybe don't have the gear or like are not, this is their first trip out, and they can go do the same type of thing, which I think is cool. So you meet all, people from different calibers of knowledge and stuff on the mountain, which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, depending on how close you're hunting together or whatever. But yeah, so pretty much elk hunt, we got out there 2 days before the season. It started last Saturday, so we got out there on Thursday and spent a couple days scouting. And I sent you guys a couple texts that you can kind of look at while I'm doing this. But
yeah, let me know which one you want to talk about, Pink, because for our YouTube viewers, I'm going to try to bring it up on this stream. I think I can.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to do my best. So let me know which one you want to go into.
Well, they're all impressive. So
they're
continue.
So basically all the clips and stuff that I sent you guys are just like I took through like a spotter, just like a phone scope setup. So I just you put your phone right on the spotting scope so you can glass and like look at stuff. So we spent a couple days scouting in this area. The way it kind of sets up is you got pretty much everything high, like the top of the mountain all the way down into like the timber, and everything is all public land.
What elevation were you at?
Pretty much anywhere from like 8.5 to 11.5 is kind of the range in there.
Okay.
So I'd say like medium, moderate elevation for Colorado,
Yep.
Yeah, and it just depends like what unit you're in. You don't have to be high to like get into them either, but that's just kind of the stuff that we typically go to, are kind of these higher elevation, more difficult to access, that type of thing, just to try to get away from crowds and stuff. So basically the way it sets up, the lower elevation stuff where like these clips are from are kind of the flats. A lot of this is at the base of what's public. So a lot of these animals are coming out on like private ranches in the evening or like in the morning to feed, and they're dumping out of the timber. So this particular season was crazy. I just think the way it's set up, there was already some snow early. I think hunting pressure in some of the other seasons pushed the animals down, and there was like 600 plus coming out every day out of the timber down onto these ranches. So pretty much any given day you could sit back and you could just watch hundreds and hundreds of elk. I mean, like that one photo I sent you guys, there's probably, I don't know, close to 300 in that picture. They're all wadded up,
just fields of elk.
Like, and there's tons of
the most disgusting, like giant elk in there.
Right. And I mean, a lot of these spend like most of their year on on what you can hunt. And they just get driven out of the backcountry down to these lower areas where they're just, nobody messes with them. So they end up there. And then, throughout the winter, that group grows and grows and grows. And then they start moving down and migrate out of there. But I felt like we hit it pretty good. There was definitely more hunters in there than we've seen in the past. I mean, the trailhead, we had a base camp that we put in right at the trailhead, and then we were hunting out of that. And then, like anticipating spike camping in further. So, like first day, essentially, we felt like we had a pretty good idea of like what drainages these elk were going up out of the private up into the like alpine stuff. So, we made a play to go basically around. pretty much hike over one mountain, drop in behind all of what's private. This is pretty much the only access. So it was you pretty much go up like about 1,000-foot vertical face and then drop over the back and then work your way into all these different drainages. And it's kind of a cool area. I don't know if you guys have hunted Colorado at all, but a lot of like aspen parks and dark timber pockets, that type of thing. And that picture or the clip with those 4 big bulls in it, and Adam, you can probably lay this over this clip here, where they're kind of walking around that side hill. So those were some bulls that we found that were actually moving up on public the night before the season. And I think at least 2 of those bulls got shot opening day. There was an area that I think some hunters bumped them up and they ran right into an area that was a lot of wheelers got into. And, we heard them light them up pretty good. So there was definitely some bulls coming out on trucks, after that first couple of days. But, we opted to just do the hike-in deal, which there was way less people. A couple outfitters had some a horse camp back in there that they took some people into. But the guys actually bailed out the night before because the guy got like elevation sickness. So they just came hiking out like the night before the season opened. And so we felt pretty good that we kind of had it to ourselves. There was nobody else really back in there. And we got down, we hunted right behind these ranches. We got set up in drainage, and the whole herd had split up, and we had about 100 or so come up the drainage we were in, like opening morning. There was kind of a second asterisk going on, so they were still bugling like crazy, which was unreal for a second rifle. Because their rut usually is in September. So to have like bugling action and bulls running cows and stuff was pretty sick. And they came literally right up the drainage we're sitting in. We're sitting there literally watching these bulls in the scope, right? I'm like, there's a beautiful 6x6 right there. Nice 5. They're coming right up. And they get pretty much to the fence line there, and they all just bed down right in the open, like right below us. 200 yards watching these freaking bulls in the scope. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Right. And they pretty much laid there like half the day. Like we're just sitting on a little, like tiny little tit on this, canyon side or whatever, just watching them. And then eventually they're just laying there forever. There's cows all over chirping. There's still bugling action. And they just kind of move into the timber eventually and go off. And we're like, man, so instead of sitting there, because like we literally watched the herd drop back down onto the private stuff. And we just decided that night we were going to hike back out and just try to like reassess everything. Because we're like, we're just going to be playing this game all week. Otherwise, this is ridiculous. And it's a 9-day season. So you feel like, at least at the beginning, that you have some time. So we bailed out, went back to our base camp, kind of went back out to where we could glass everything, set some scopes up. And we started glassing a different area because we were just like, forget it. Let's just forget about being down by this private stuff. Let's try to find them, so we don't even have to worry about it. And we found an area that we hadn't hunted before, but we could see into it pretty good ways from up on this slope. And we put the scopes up, and we happened to locate a big bull, like a actually big bull. From what we saw, probably 350 type bull. Just
that's big. For those that don't know, a public land bull, if you're looking at like over 270, that's a fucking monster.
Yeah, like a 300-inch bull, especially in a general unit in Colorado, is big. I mean, that's a really, really good bull.
It's a huge animal.
And so this one, in particular, and it's like when you're looking through a scope, sometimes, especially at range, it's hard to judge everything about them. But like I said, this one we were looking at it probably close to 3.5 miles away. And it was 2 bulls together. One, you couldn't even see its rack. Like you could tell it was a bull just from the color of it and the size and everything. But this other one, you could literally see the mass from 3.5 miles against its hide when it would turn.
Jesus.
And they're coming down out of this super high timber pocket coming down into like an opening on the side of a basin that basically is the highest basin in this entire area. And we're the only people glassing it. This is our third season hunting this unit, and I've never even seen anybody hunt up this drainage at all. And so we basically decided, okay, well, we got to go. Like, you're not going to glass this up and be like, nah, we're not going to try even. And so we talked to, we'd talked about going into this area last year, but we just ended up not having to go in there because we killed in a different spot. But we pretty much formulated a plan where we're going to try to spike camp in and take stuff for like 3 days and just try to figure it out. And so, like I said, just me and my dad hunting. We pretty much packed our crap the next morning and started hiking in. And we had information that it would probably take like 4 hours from the trailhead to get to where we wanted to be to camp, and then have to go up. And it's like, this stuff is crazy steep, crazy steep. So, well, what we found out later was it was definitely longer than that. So, there was snow the week before we got there.
A lot of there was what? You kind of cut for a second. There was what before you got there?
Snow.
Okay.
It had snowed, precipitation. Just a couple inches. So a lot of the meadows and stuff had already melted out. But we started hiking up, and a lot of the trails were just super, super bad. Like, I mean, it's like walking on like half-baked brownies, it's just soup. And so we get probably 2 hours into this send up this thing, and we get to an area. So like, I'm running like Onyx maps, so I can kind of see like where the trail is and everything. Most of these trails are like, they're not hard to follow. They're like old horse trails or whatever. And we're getting up in there, and now we get to this section. It was supposed to be like, I don't know, maybe 4 miles, and then it was supposed to climb like 1,200 feet in that 4 miles, which isn't terrible. I mean, that's like if you spread it out, but it was not spread out. It was like backloaded to where it was like probably the last.
Oh, there he goes. We knew it was going to come. All right, Cody, fill the dead air. Here we go.
So I know exactly what he's talking about. Like, that 1,200 feet is absolutely atrocious. Are you back?
You're back.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Yep.
All right. So anyway, it basically the last mile accounted for almost all of the elevation gain. So, but when you get to it on the map, it's a straight line. But when you actually are there, it's switchbacking up a cliff face, right? So now, instead of just this straight line, we're doing these like 200-yard switchbacks up this like sheer rock face. So we get above that one, right? And I'm like, okay, well, that sucked, but that has to be like the shitty part, right? like we're running out of real estate here for.
So if anyone knows, like, this type of switchback that he's going through is those sheer cliffs that you see on some sort of Instagram picture that they have gradually walked up. Those sheer cliffs, those sheer mountainsides, that's what they're walking up. And it is absolutely insane. It is hard to fathom, and it is so hard to walk up.
And then it's all covered in snow also.
Yes. I'm glad.
So anyway, it was very sketchy and everything. And so we get to the top of this first one, and everything's up, right? You're gassed. You've only been there for 2 days. Your body still isn't fully adjusted to like your elevation and everything. So I feel like my fucking check engine light is on the entire time, right? Like, I'm going up this thing and it's not going well. But so we get above it, and then we get back on a trail section that seemed like not awful, right? Like, okay, we can continue up this, but we're losing daylight and we still got to put a camp up, So we keep going. And then essentially where we're trying to go is the right side of this basin. And there's like a sheer like gorge with a river in the bottom next to where we're going. And I'm just like, as long as this trail keeps going right, like, we're going to get up into this area. It's steep, but like, we'll be up in there. and we go about another 200 yards, and the trail just makes a 90-degree left turn. Oh, like 100% away from where we're trying to go. And then you like start getting this feeling like, oh, this is going to take a long time, like, so it cuts left and immediately goes up another one of these giant ass cliff faces. And by the time we got to that, we were pretty gassed, and we got just shortly above that, and we just found a flat spot, and we're like, we got to put the camp up now, like, where it's going to be dark. And it was every day we were there, it was like 12 degrees at night, so everything was frozen, like your water is freezing at night and all this shit. So we had taken our spike setup was like a hot tent, so it's got like a wood stove in there that we can put up and actually like try to dry stuff out. So we get up and we set that thing up. And
you carried that on your back?
Yeah, it's like pretty ultra. It's like an ultralight one. Like the stove setup's probably like 4 or 5 pounds, and then the tent's maybe
like one of the
pounds.
like titanium.
What's your pack weight?
Probably 60 at this point, all in, 3 days of food, camp, the whole deal.
60 a piece.
Yeah.
People, wow. 60 a piece. How many feet of elevation?
It was like 1,200 to 1,400 all in.
60 pounds plus 1,200 elevation, and you haven't been in the mountains.
Yeah, this is
you
day
don't
2.
You don't realize how hard that is.
Yeah, you're grinding, dude.
You're grinding to get there.
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, it's not. I will like the pace wasn't high.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah. So, anyways, we get to that place, and like we kick out a spot to put the our tent set up in, essentially, and we cut a bunch of wood and whatever, and tried to get a fire going. And we get set up for the night or whatever, and so it's me and my dad in there, and immediately he's like, dude, there's a leak in my air pad.
Oh okay. My God.
I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, he tries to blow it up again. 20 minutes later, it's like laying on the ground flat. I'm like, shit. So I took I think I gave him like a couple of the coats that I'd brought and stuff. So we were like trying to like lay him out or whatever. Like that was going to work or something. I don't know. So we tried to keep a fire going for a while and whatever, but we're like trying to crash, and like those little titanium stoves, even if you jack them full, it's like they only last a couple hours before they like run out of burn time. So eventually we just let it burn out, and we're just going to try to crash, but it was like the worst night of all time. Like it was just brutal cold. I think it was probably like 12 that night, and everything's wet because you just hike all that time in the snow.
Yeah, you're sweating.
Yeah, and we had like we'd put a little line like across the ridge of the tent. It's kind of like a mini wall tent, like a 6x9 probably is like the shape of that hot tent. So we had a line there and like hung a bunch of stuff up. Well, I wake up in the morning and like the pants I had on were just frozen, like a board, like,
nothing better.
Oh God.
And
is that how you woke your dad up? You just pulled the pants down and we're like, Dad, wake up, and just smacked him. Like
I don't even think he slept at all, dude, to be honest.
Really? Yeah. I mean, met your dad. Your dad can he can pull an all-nighter if he needs to. He almost did with me.
Well, I don't think he was trying to.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to.
So it's like whatever. It was a terrible night of sleeping or whatever, and we just decided, all right, let's go for it and because we had a pin that we had dropped like on Onyx, and we're like, this is the meadow we want to get to and everything. So, and of course, like there was no water on the way up because the river that we thought was up in there is like in the bottom of a fucking like 100-foot, cut,
like straight down, like
so there's no way you were like just gonna go filter some water out of it. So then there was like a couple drainages on the map that looked like they probably had some water. So we crossed one of those and we were able to like filter some water out and fill up our hydration and stuff. And so we bust ass for like probably 2 hours that morning to get up to the area we thought we wanted to get to. Just steep everything. And we get up in there right to like the spot we pinned. And, initially you're there and you're kind of hyped because you're like, oh man, they were coming out. We had like timed it. Like they're coming out at like, 8 to 8:30 is when they're going to be out in this meadow. It's going to be sick. Like, and there, it's not like there was a bunch of elk up in there. It was literally, we went in there after these 2 bulls and, immediately we're like sitting up in there and it's just like, this doesn't look right. Like this doesn't seem like what we glassed, It's like, instead of like this grass that were coming down and it's like all this sheer exposed rock and all this stuff. We're like, this is not it. Like all these cliff bands above us and whatever, it just didn't look right. And, the whole time we're kind of like, yeah, well, it probably just looks different now that, we got back in here and all this shit. Cause we looked at it from like 3 miles out. And so we spend like pretty much that morning just trying to like assess like, okay, where are we at? Is it the next one? All this, whatever. And we basically, after less than ideal discussion, decided that like we had no idea where we were supposed to be. Because it was like, we didn't know if we overshot it, undershot it, whatever, but we were not there. And pretty much from the time we left the trailhead to there wasn't even a single elk track like in the snow or anything. So it was like we had to be at this location or it was a bust. So we just decided that we were just going to pack out. We're like, we're just wasting time now. Like if we stay in here, we're just hoping we can figure it out. So we eventually just like bail out of there and we actually hiked all the way back out that next day. So we literally spent the night up there and then bailed because we're like, we're not in it. Like we gotta reassess here. So we start bailing out and we get right to the bottom.
I got to ask Pink, was the walk out substantially better?
Well, yeah, it was like mostly down.
Yeah, exactly. Did you slide down? Yeah. I mean, slide down a mud hill, have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, I mean, going down the like cliff stuff is still sketchy and like, slick mud.
Your knees are honestly, I always thought that going down was worse than going up.
I think it's harder on like your joints and stuff for sure. Yeah. Especially if you haven't been hiking a lot. But like the lung burn is definitely on the way up,
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, we started bailing out of there. So it's probably, midday. We got back to our camp and just kind of chilled for a while, ate some food, and then started bailing out. We make it down all this crazy steep stuff and we're working our way out. And now it's getting closer to, it gets dark pretty early. And we're probably, I don't know, probably still like 4 hours from the trailhead at this point. And so it's getting later in the later in the afternoon, whatever. And coming up the trail, the way, coming in the steep way, like I'm in front, he's behind me, we're walking, and I come around this corner and there's this dude walking up the trail. And keep in mind, this is already like several hours into this like hike from the trailhead to where we are. Dude just walking up the trail in just like jeans and like a flannel shirt, has nothing with him. And he just comes walking and like totally stone face. Like this guy, have you guys watched like Schitt's Creek? Seen that show? Okay. Yeah. So the dude, the long black hair guy with the beard, I don't remember his name. You know what I'm talking about? You look like
I know what you're saying, but
okay, this is the guy that's coming up this trail. Okay. And he gets like right in front of us and he's just like, hi. That's it. That was the only word he said the whole time. And I was just like, what's up, man? And just kind of like walked around him. And I have no idea because it's like didn't have a backpack, didn't have nothing. It's like starting to get dark, all this stuff. And he's going up like where we just came from. There's nothing there. There's nothing. So we walked past him, never saw him again. No idea. And there was no like vehicles at the trailhead or anything either. So we were just like, okay, whatever, fuck that. But so we just kept hiking.
Are you sure you saw someone?
100%, dude. We talked about it for like the next 2 days. Like, you saw that, right? Oh yeah, yeah.
And no hallucinating or anything?
No, I'm telling you right now, 100p.
Okay.
So that was like a very weird experience, I guess, just to like see. And it's not like a place where you'd just be like casually going for like an afternoon stroll, I guess. I don't know. But so we bail. apparently. But we bailed out and we went back to our base camp, and just like it was a bummer just because we felt like we burned like essentially 2 days on like getting in there and then coming out, and we didn't really even hunt. So that's like a little bit frustrating, especially when you're, you only have a 9-day season to get it done. And we reassessed, decided to hunt low again, and we went in and we pretty much immediately got back into elk, kind of hunting the mountain above all these ranches again. And just we're having trouble like locating a bull. So we had gotten into some cows and stuff like that. And the tag's only a bull tag, so you couldn't shoot like a cow elk or anything. And it's still a good area to hunt, but we're dealing with a lot more hunting pressure. So we had like 3 other groups that had spiked in off of the same trailhead we were hunting. And we were day hunting everything. I don't think it's far enough in that you really need to spike in. It's just a lot of guys are camping over this first face, so you don't have to basically climb 1,000 feet in the morning right away. But we were kind of from the aspect that it's like I'd rather be sleeping in base camp than up there. And now that we were down in air pad too, it was like not really feasible to be doing it. So we hunted essentially the next two days there. So that put us at day 5. And that morning we had a bunch of snow come in, and that I'd sent you guys a video of that too. That was just like an insane snowstorm that rolled in. That was one. It was actually on the news because I think it hit Denver pretty hard. Oh, maybe I didn't send you that one, but
I didn't see any snow in here. I want to see.
We
got like a snow tornado or something.
Yeah, that was So it was basically complete whiteout. I'll send it to you right now. You can overlay that, but complete whiteout conditions. We got kind of stuck up high that day when it rolled in, and we just kind of rolled with it. We lost pretty much all visibility, so you couldn't glass anything. You could probably only see maybe 50 yards or so, and crazy wind and everything. It only built up maybe like 6 or 8 inches of powder, but it was just brutal conditions to be up there, and it was just soaked everything. So kind of one of those deals on a hunt like that where you're just trying to like kind of control.
Oh, you cut out.
Oh, lost you there.
But yeah, no, this snowstorm definitely looks like probably about March 10th in Minnesota when you get that last 8 inches of the year with 25-mile-an-hour winds, and you're like, this is the best place on earth. It looks like that, except Ryan's standing in the middle of the mountains. I will, if I can find this spot in this podcast, I will overlay this so you guys can see this. It is a lot of snow.
Yeah, so it was just dumping. We really couldn't, like I said, you couldn't like really hunt around. I mean, you couldn't see. So it was like we kind of just hunkered while it was going.
Yeah, so what, do you just set up a tent in that situation and chill, or like the ground's got to be soaked? So like what are you just laying next to a tree, or what's the plan there?
Yeah, we just kicked out a spot next to some spruce trees and just kind of got down in there and hung out. I mean, I was trying not to get super wet, right? So I had like, I got the gear for it to try to, like shed water and everything, like a waterproof, setup, jacket and everything.
Oh, there he goes again. All right, Will, how are you doing over there?
Oh, good. I'm enjoying the story. I wanted to know about it before the podcast started, and everybody yelled at me, so I'm tuned in.
The number one sin of podcasting, Will ask, like we hop on to talk about Pinkalla's
like
trip out to Colorado, right? And goes,
like,
"Yeah,
hey,
Pink. So how was your hunt?" And it's like, what are you doing?
I was curious, but yeah, it's a good point.
Right.
I should have.
Well, we're getting into the meat of it right now. So
okay, all right.
I'm
so
sorry
that
I'm sorry this keeps cutting out.
Winds everywhere. Pink is sitting under what did he say? Some sort of tree.
20 feet of visibility. It looks
we're,
like
we're tucked down under some spruces, riding out this snowstorm, and so essentially it starts to break, and we feel like we can keep hunting or whatever. We're already several miles in, and the drainage that we had gotten on those elk opening day is kind of where we ended up reverting back to, figuring, okay, they're gonna start working up. They want to get out of that open stuff at the bottom to try to just get some cover during that snow. And we get up in there, sun comes out, we're trying to dry some things out, it's starting to get warmer. Like that was the warmest day of the trip. It was like 45 degrees. And, we're sitting at the bottom of this drainage. I'm like, got my boots off, trying to dry them out and stuff. And we start working up it. And bull rips a bugle right above us in the drainage, like on public above us. We're between them and the private. We're like, this is money, like they're going to be working right down into us. This is so sick, And then, another one bugles, the cows, you can hear them chirping up there. We're like, oh God, it's the wad, they're right here. So it's midday, and like in the mountains with the way that the wind and thermals and currents work is like when the lower stuff starts to heat up, the wind pushes up, and then in the evening when it's cool, it starts coming back down. So the wind was going up pretty strong that at that time because the sun was out. So we were kind of in the bottom of a drainage, so our wind was essentially going straight up it. So we tried to get up the side to try to keep our wind out of that. And just kind of work up into them. And it's fairly open, so we figured we'd be able to see them pretty quickly because it sounded like they were maybe only 200 or 300 yards away. And we're working up the side, and we get to kind of a spot where we either have to stay out in the open or go further into like a timber line to try to just stay on the right side of the topography from where they were. And like we didn't have to get super close. I mean, this was a rifle hunt, so getting in within a couple hundred yards was totally chill, but we're working up there, and immediately I look up to the side and I see a bull standing there at like probably under 100 yards. But all I can see is from like his nose up. So I can see his antlers and then his ears and stuff. And he's already got his pin, like he's looking right at us. And so like, obviously didn't want to make any moves because I don't want to blow up. Like there was an entire herd there. So kind of just like let him walk off. It was like a small rag for like just not a big bull. And he had a couple cows right on him. They worked through this little opening, and we kind of just immediately went into like fire drill mode because we felt like we were like in them, So, I'm with my dad. So he immediately goes up, just drops his pack. He starts working up. I just go down, get on the meadow edge. I'm like, somebody's going to bump, like either one of us is going to bump them, and they're either going to go up or down. And at least someone's going to get a crack when they come by. This like is less than a mile from 2 years ago when we were there. We actually killed 2 bulls out of one herd. We crawled into them like in a snowstorm, exactly like this one. And, so we're thinking, if we get into him again, we're going to smash him. Like this is going to go down just like it did last time. And so he goes up, I stayed low, and I waited probably like 15 minutes, and I heard a shot, and I'm like, sick, we must have a bull down, or whatever. So I just sat tight, hoping that they would drop back down, trying to get back on the private, and they didn't come out. So I was like, okay, they must have obviously went up. And so I'm just waiting around figuring like, okay, eventually we're going to have to go like deal with this bull or whatever the deal is. And he comes walking back, and it's like no reaction. Like he's just like walking to me, and I'm like, like, what is this? And he gets down to me. He's kind of out of breath or whatever, but essentially how it went down is he gets over the top, gets over the drainage, and the elk are strung out up the drainage from us, like right above us. He finds a bull in there. There were several bulls. He got on a nice 5x5, put his bipod out, laid down, like ready to go, His crosshairs on the bull, the whole deal. And he's just sitting, waiting for it. It's like right behind an aspen. Just needs to take like one step. He's sitting there, like literally finger on the trigger, ready to go. And he's just looking through the scope, and a shot, like it rings out, and the bull just goes down. But he's like, dude, I never even pulled the trigger. Like, I don't know what the hell just happened. And turns out, so during this snowstorm, a lot of people bailed out of like where we're hunting. So essentially the only other guy that was hunting on that whole mountain was in the same drainage we were in, right below us.
Oh, no.
On the exact same bull at the exact same time.
Oh my God.
So anyways, yeah, so that was like major bummer. And so we hiked down, and we ended up, chatting the guy up, whatever, the dude and his wife that were hunting up in there. And obviously they're stoked, right? They just killed a bull. And, we're like standing there like sick. Like,
yeah, you're like, I was scoped on that one.
Yeah, like literally like pull, like think about that. Just like pulling the trigger and then a shot, like because the guy was right in front of it. So like you're like pulling the trigger, and then it like a rifle shoots, but it's like not yours.
And it just drops, and you're just like, wait, what?
It's crazy because it was like
God.
literally in this entire like area is the only other dude in there, and we're on the exact same bull at the exact same second, right? Just mind bending stuff. Like I don't even know what the odds of that happening are, but it's not high. So, anyways, so we kind of decide like we're gonna like we got to hike out of here now because it was the group that was in there was about 100 head, and there was like 5 bulls in it, and they obviously all blew out after that shot and went into a different drainage and probably back down into the private again. So we just worked up to another area. There was one other bull that I got shot opening day off of a meadow that we knew of that we figured, oh, we'll just go check it out because we hadn't been in there yet, like on this trip. So we went and sat there that night, but everything was buried in snow. So there's like really no grass in there for them or anything. And we froze our ass off and sat up there that night and bailed out after dark. And then pretty much the next 2 days, we just really weren't in them good, which was tough. So we just were like trying to figure out what's our like kind of Hail Mary play, and with a trip like that, like, we got to get back here and get back to work. Like I was at work today, I literally got home yesterday from this trip and didn't barely deal with anything and just went to work today. So, we felt like that last on Friday was kind of our Hail Mary play. Like if we're going to get one, we got to get it Friday so we can pack it out. Cause it's like, we're running out of days here. We can't get one too deep. That's going to take like 3 days to pack out. So we kind of drew a line in the sand. Like this is the furthest drainage we're willing to go, and, and we weren't psyched about it because we were pretty ground down and whatever. You're just kind of out of energy. You're trying to keep your head in the game, the whole deal. Cause that's like the tough thing about some of these hunts is you can get one on the first day or you can get one on the last day. It's like, it's all the same, but if your head's not in the game, if you kind of check out and you're like, it's not going to happen. Like it's not,
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, for sure.
So that last on Friday, we could hunt Saturday too, but we're like, if we get one Saturday, it's got to be pretty damn close so we can pack it out in like, half a day or something. Which like an elk is a good amount. I mean, we debone all the meat when we get them. So it ends up being about 200, probably 225, 250, depending on the size of the animal, like the, amount of meat you're packing. So it's probably for 2 guys, probably realistically 3 trips to get it out of wherever you got it in. And, we pretty much went into our limit as far as where we were willing to go. On Friday morning, we hiked in there in the snow again. All our shit was frozen. We're like, fuck, like, not psyched about it on the hike. And, you're like on the way in, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Let's just get in there. But then pretty much every drainage we cross, we're hitting fresh tracks in the snow coming into like the area we can hunt. We're like, this could go down. Like, this is getting real. And then we get into an area where it looked like about 50 of them that came up right into the timber that we were hunting in. We're like, okay, well, if we don't get into them, once we get to this, this other drainage, we'll back out to here and we'll just sit for like the evening kind of thing. And hopefully they come back down through and we're going to toast them right here. Well, we get back to the line we drew essentially and said we're not going further than this. We get to that, the whole thing's tracked out in the snow. It took us like 10 minutes and we found a herd, like we could see them through the aspens. And immediately we're like, game on, and we start working down into them. And when you're in these big like aspen parks like that, it's pretty flat in there. And there's so many tree trunks that it's like you can actually move pretty good like through there because they can't see you. It's kind of like, I don't know, like an optical illusion or whatever, but you can move a lot even on like animals in the open.
Yep.
So we're moving in on them. We get to maybe like 150 yards and we can see there's at least like 10 or so in this group. And we're just trying to find a bull. And, we're just picking our way through and the main like trail to get into this area is above us, maybe 200 yards. And as we're moving in on this herd, that outfitter that had a camp back there the guys had bailed out of, they had brought their pack string in to go pull the camp out. So they come on the trail with like 4 horses all strung together coming right down the trail, right above us, right into this herd. And we're like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we finally get on this herd on the public side. And then here comes like the outfitter with a bunch of horses right into the middle of the whole mix. And it was just like, it felt like defeating, right? And we're trying to go get below them, like elevation wise, as we're moving in on this herd. And we just start running. We're like, we just got to get below them, because if they blow up from these horses coming by, they're going to run right down this aspen park, and we're at least try to get in position to get a shot. And so we just start like running down there. So we run like 200 yards and like nothing happens. Like nobody, the outfit keeps going. The elk don't move. I'm like, how is this even possible? And so we're looking, and somehow the trail must like peel away just enough that they weren't visible to them. So like it was just like a weird circumstance. So there's this whole herd of elk. The trail is just kind of like hooking just slightly away. So that outfitter just keeps going on the trail, loops away from them. The elk didn't even see them. I have no idea how they weren't winded or whatever, but they never moved. So we get up. There's a small barbed wire fence we're trying to cross now. We're within 100 yards of this whole herd now. They're just over a little like rise from us. So we're like closing the distance, and we get right to this fence, and we're trying to figure out how we cross it without making any sound or like anything to try to get over it. And it's like deep snow too, so you couldn't like crawl underneath of like the bottom wire. So we're like, fuck. Well, and like my dad's quite a bit taller than I am as well, so he just goes right over it. I'm like, all right. So
you're like, oh,
so I hand him.
I know the feeling.
So I hand him my rifle, right? And like, this is like high tension moment, right? Like, holy shit, this is going down. And I'm like going over the thing, and I'm getting ball hung on this fucking barbed wire fence, dude. We're literally like within 100 yards of this entire herd. I was like right there. And like, I'm on her good, dude. And so, like everything you're doing, because you're trying to be so quiet, right? And the snow's crunching, all this stuff. And like, you step on a stick and you feel like you might as well just like thrown a grenade into the timber in front of you. And I'm trying to like get this.
Oh, there goes Pink's audio.
Just lost you for a second.
So yeah, right in the media. So Pink is currently hanging from a barbed wire fence, from what I can tell, and is stuck. And now we were waiting for his audio to get back. Will, have you ever gotten stuck on a barbed wire fence while you've been out hunting?
I can relate. I'm not the world's tallest guy, so like, dude, even my brother, he's like just a couple inches taller than me, but like, there's been a lot of times where he'll just like so gracefully go over a fence, and I'll be like putting all my weight on it. And Ryan, you know what I'm talking about, like just trying to like barely get my crotch over it, and it sucks, especially in a situation like that where it's high tension, high pressure. Like,
well, right, yeah, exactly. So whatever. You've been there. It's like you're like pushing down the wires pretty tight. So it's like everything every time we push on it, it's creaking on the fucking 50-year-old wood post it's connected to. It's like, and you're like, come on, man. And so finally, whatever, I get it off, and I just.
Oh, there he goes again.
We're right at the climax.
I know. He's really good at the tease. Really good at the tease.
So close. He'll be back in like 10
I know he's going to be back in a second. Oh, look who's also back. He got up and took a little bit of a walk. Cody Hahner, he's back. How's he
doing?
Bit
of Peasky.
I don't know why this keeps cutting out, especially like right now. It just keeps doing it.
Okay, but we're back. So let's.
Okay. So let's recap. So nut hung on the barbed wire fence, under 100 from this herd we're moving in on, and eventually get over it, flail myself over the thing, whatever. So now we're both on the correct side of this goddamn fence. And we start working up this little ridge right to them. And we're kind of still working through those aspens. And next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, there's a cow right here, 60 yards. Here's another cow, 60 yards. They're just like filtering through right in front of us, this whole thing. I was like, they're in bow range right now. And so there's probably, 15 to 20 kind of in front of us moving through this thing. And we're literally slipping right in on them. The wind is perfect. We're just getting closer and closer. And every time they kind of move up, we're kind of doing the same thing. So pretty much shadowing this herd between 50 and 60 yards. And they start moving into the dark timber, which we didn't think was great just because we weren't going to be able to see very well. But we're like, we got to stay with them because we hadn't confirmed whether there was a bull in this group or not. And so eventually the last like cow and calf move into that timber pocket, and we just get right behind them because the tracks are super easy to follow in the snow. So we just got on like the highest set of tracks going into the timber and stayed with them. And now we're like I said, we'd kind of picked like, here's the furthest we're willing to go to like pack one out. And now we're following them to the next drainage beyond it. You know, we're like heading in. We're like, well, what are you going to do? Just bail? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So we stick with them. We're working through this timber. And then eventually we get to where we're probably under 50 yards on like the back end of the herd. And they have like no idea we're there. We're just slipping in. It's crazy how like you can get away with some movement and stuff if they don't have your wind. Like we're literally in the middle of this entire herd of elk. And they like don't even care, you know, even one would pick us off and it would just kind of trot away. And then the other ones wouldn't even do anything. And so we're just
trying.
It literally, it was crazy. It just like, it felt like everything we're doing, like, this is real, right? Oh yeah. Okay. And so we make it to the other end. Like I'm looking on the map. Okay. It's only 200 yards to the next like Aspen area. And so we follow them all the way to that. And eventually they kind of break into the open, and it takes us a little longer because it's all like, if you've ever been in this type of timber, it's all just blowdowns and just nasty stuff. So you're constantly climbing over and under stuff. There's a lot of like stuff that has a ton of branches you're trying to bust through, and you're trying to be quiet, obviously. And we make it to that outer like edge of timber, and we're trying to re-find them in this aspen because it goes up in front of us pretty steep. And it's like, man, I don't know where they went. You know, there's a ton of them here. We never heard them blow out. And we're just looking around. And I glass kind of up the face of this thing. And they're all just strung out across the whole thing, like probably 100 yards. I was like, oh God, all we got to do is find a bull here and this is done. Like they're just standing here. They have no idea. And we, like I said, we stayed with them from that one drainage all the way to there. There ended up being like close to 30 elk in that group. And we tried for probably an honest 2 hours, and we just could not find a bull in there. And it was like so frustrating. It's like you felt like, you know, when you're like, even in sports, right? It's like you feel like that whole trip, it's like you're doing everything right. You're in the game, but your team's still losing. It's like I feel like I'm having an awesome game here. And like, it's just not like I don't know what's going on.
Playing MVP level right now, and we're still losing.
Right. And I mean, you know, we came out of the gate swinging with some big dick moves too, trying to go after some of these high country bulls that we were spotting and everything. And just nothing was clicking. And it felt like it was slipping away. And now we're down to like basically the last day and a half. And you know, we get in on this herd that should have been money. And it's like, you know, we're glassing herds of 150 elk every night, and there's 50, 60 bulls down there. And then you get into this herd of 30 cows and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? You know? And so we just eventually just decided, you know, we got to bail off them because they're like, there's not a bull in here. Like, we got to go. And we still had kind of our plan B set up, you know, that we were going to get set up in this area where we had seen all the tracks go up in the morning. So we bail off, we hike our way out to that. And it's probably at this point, maybe 3 hours until like legal shooting light's done. So we get in there, we get a spot set up, we kick out a little spot to sit, and it's a real steep wall that we're sitting on. So we kind of got like a downfall tree, and we kind of just like put our packs against it to kind of like post up. And we're just going to sit up there, and if they came out, they'd be about 100 yards below us, and like the wind would be good, and hopefully we'd be able to see enough to, you know, at least get a shot off. And the temp starts falling off, and we're like, all right, well, we're just going to stick it out no matter what, right? And it's getting down now. We got about 2 hours left. Like, nothing's moving. We haven't heard anything yet. And next thing I know, like, we're sitting up there, and he's like, dude, I'm getting like super cold out. I'm like, we're wearing like down stuff. Like, I don't know how this is even possible. So we're about 2 hours out from the end of the deal. And the entire time he's sitting on the mouthpiece for his hydration bladder. And it's just pissing the water out all over like where we're sitting. So he's getting soaked So now the temp's falling out. It's probably like 15 degrees. Everything he's got on is wet. I'm like, fuck, we gotta stick this out, man. And it just wasn't feasible. Like, you know, it's gonna start freezing here and the whole thing. And he's like, dude, if I'm not moving, like I'm gonna be in trouble here pretty quick. So we're kind of like trying to weigh the options, like, well, like how bad you gonna die? Like, you know. And whatever, it was just like it just kept getting colder and it was super uncomfortable deal. But we ended up bailing off probably like an hour before of that, and we had to just bail off that spot because we still had probably at that point like a several hour hike back to our base camp. And it was just kind of one of them deals where you're like, you know, is it worth trying to like risk something like that back in there? And it just wasn't. So and then so then that was pretty much that. We decided we weren't going to hike in anywhere Saturday, so we ended up not punching a tag on this one, which is unfortunate, especially for like how much action we had. I would say it's probably one of my favorite trips out there. Honestly, we had a ton of action. Being in that herd for like literally hours was sick. Like that was probably one of the best elk hunting experiences I've ever had. And being able to like shadow a herd for that far and everything and just watch them do what they do was pretty wicked. You know, we saw like literally we watched that bull get killed. You know, on like day 5, which
like
was
literally watch that bull get
frustrating, dude. Well, it's like, you know, you're putting in a lot of effort. So it's just, and you know, it's not like if you work hard, you're going to get one. It's just kind of how it is. Sometimes it's tough. And we got dealt some kind of tough conditions, I felt like. And, you know, some of the guys we normally hunt with, they drew out some tags for muzzleloader season in September and did pretty well in there. So it kind of got us fired up. Like it was going to be good. And I mean, I don't know. It's one of them deals. Super fun to be out there. Those kind of like adventure style hunts are really kind of like my jam. You know, I mean, there's still stuff like we got deer season coming up here, which is cool and everything, but it's not the same game. You know, it's
not even close to out west.
No, especially chasing, you know, like bulls and stuff. It's really gets my blood fired up. I mean, I don't know what we're doing. That's like my last elk hunt. Like I'm not going on another elk hunt this year or anything, but I do got some Montana tags that I'm gonna go after some deer like around Thanksgiving out there. But till next year on the elk game. So we'll see. Got a bunch of points saved up in Colorado right now for both elk and deer. So might blow one of those next year. I don't think I'm gonna try to do 2, but I don't know, man. It's super fun. But yeah, we got to see, you know, driving out there too, like that road driving back, you know, you go and it's like, I don't know, 16, 18 hours, something like that, back to like where I live from where we're hunting. And it's kind of, you know, it's cool driving at night. I mean, we just like rip it off in one go and kind of trade off driving. But, you know, you can see a lot of elk racks on the back of trucks coming back, and it's like pretty much all semi trucks and people with coolers on the back of their truck driving is all it is. So it's kind of a cool deal. I mean, you kind of get the same thing when you're probably driving, you know, to these like tournaments and stuff. It's just all bass rigs and semis.
For the most part. Yeah.
So
no, that's sick.
Pretty much how it went down, man.
That is exactly how it went down.
We smashed some bulls, but just didn't pan out that way.
Yeah. No, that's sick. I mean, Pink is, there's a reason Pink is on this podcast, and he's like the #1 storyteller of any hunt he's ever gone on. So it's like you've been there. It's very cool. He's very talented with it. So, no, man, that's awesome. Well, wish you would have punched a tag, but whatever happens, you got another trip coming up soon.
Yeah, we got plenty of opportunities to get back in the meat here this year. So, and so all the stuff, especially with some of these other trips I'm doing, including this one, that I was on, a bunch of these are going to end up on that meat season show that I'm trying to get off the ground this year.
Yeah, so over on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so hopefully that stuff's going to start coming out here towards the end of November and then kind of roll through the winter too. So I got a bunch of hunts already filmed for that, and it's going to be like a hunting and cooking kind of thing put together. So all these stories will be there with a lot more of the footage. I do have just an insane amount of footage from this trip, especially elk footage doing what they do, which is super cool to watch, especially if you haven't been out there and got to experience it. Anyway, if you want to check that out, that's where that'll be. And they'll be probably November through, I'm hoping January probably, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, sick. Well, alrighty. Yeah, that is Ryan's trip out to Colorado. But anyways, this one ran a little long compared to what most of our shows will be. Still no biggie because it's under 2 hours. That's kind of what our goal will be for all of them, keeping around 1 to 1.5. But someone goes on a cool trip out west, it's obviously going to run a little long. So thank you, Ryan, for diving into all this. But I think I can speak for all of us when I'll say we're going to kind of tune out for this one. We'll be back next week. And by this time, I would imagine all this stuff will be out. So if you're listening to us now, please rate and subscribe, share with your friends. And our goal is to be having these podcasts coming out weekly. The hope is around Wednesdays. So we're going to do our best to keep up on it. It'll be us four, maybe have a few surprise guests popping in every once in a while. But yeah, anybody got anything else they want to say? Otherwise, I believe next week it will be me, Hahner, and Pink because Sir William IV is heading into the woods, correct?
Yeah. It'll just depend if I shoot a deer or not. So I guess we'll see.
Well, hopefully we see you then.
Yeah, so
hopefully it'd be good. I'd like to.
Yeah, so hopefully we see Sir William IV next one. Otherwise, it will probably be another show of me, Cody, and Pinkalla. We'll be doing a segment probably of notes from your phone and maybe a little bit of a weigh-in action. We might have Will miss out on that, but we might tune in to a little something. We'll see what happens, but we'll have another show coming up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.